My name is Mark Grabalman, class of 2015 PCF. PCF to me afforded me accessibility and insight into how things are run in the different aspects of our everyday lives, which in turn translates to my personal growth and a wealth of knowledge for a lifetime.
The PCF program was one of the most exciting things I've experienced in a while. When I first heard about it, I was excited to apply, and I did. And when I was finally selected, it was just a great moment for me because I really liked Mufi, and I knew that he would be with us every step of the way. And just learning from Mufi and learning from my classmates just made me feel real good about being in this group, the Pacific Century Fellows. The Hawaii trip was probably the biggest highlight because coming from the tourism industry, the trip was actually more of a study mission for me. I probably took 2,000 pictures, which translated to 2,000 different ideas. There were so many great speakers we've had throughout the year, and it all topped off with a culminating event in Hawaii where we met tourism leaders that deal with arrivals 10 times what we receive, even more. And I don't think I would have ever had that experience anywhere else. And probably the greatest takeaway is the people that we met in Hawaii, the experiences that we had, the business cards that were given to us, that were given to me, guys and women and men that we still communicate, that I still communicate with, on small ideas to big ideas. It's a great network, it's a great program, and I'm proud to be part of it. And I encourage everybody out there to apply and give it a try.
Before I joined the Pacific Century Fellows program, my whole perception of a leader was your top boss in your organization, or someone higher in the government, such as the governor. But after going through monthly sessions with PCF, I now know that a leader is somebody who's willing to instill change for not only for our greater good, but for the greater good of all people living here in the Commonwealth. Joining PCF, I got to see firsthand the pressing issues facing our Commonwealth. Knowing what I know now, we can all come up with viable solutions to CNMI's most pressing issues. No man is an island. A leader brings people together. That I learned from Mufi's maxim. Thank you.
I personally find the Pacific Century Fellows as an excellent program of leadership mentoring. For me, it was the door that opened endless doors of opportunities to broaden my horizon and meet a lot of exciting and interesting people. Going forward, I commit to give back and pay forward from all the benefits I reaped from the Pacific Century Fellows, and give it back to our Northern Mariana Islands.
I've worked for the government for over 10 years, so my expectations when joining the Fellows wasn't that I was going to get to meet a lot of the political leaders whom I had already met. What I enjoyed so much about the program was the opportunity to meet in depth the other Fellows in the program. The monthly meetings really bring you together quite closely, and it was just a pleasure to get to meet everyone in the program. The great thing about the Fellows is you have leaders who believe in principles and they try to live them. I think each of us have studied Mufi's maxims, and I think we all have our own favorite one. The one that applies to me the most is the one that says, unless you have a mind of an elephant, you better write it down. As I get older and as I get busier in my career, I find I forget more and more things, which really isn't a problem when I'm just talking about myself. If I forget a doctor's appointment this week, I can just make up a new one. But as a fellow, I find that I have obligations not only to myself, but to my other fellows and to the community. So when a fellow calls up and has a project that says, hey, I'd like you to help unpack this container of relief goods, and you say you're going to be there, well, you probably owe it to them to be there. And the way to do that is to write down your obligations. And so I think that's Mufi's simplest maxim. I think it's the one that no one really talks about the most. but it's the one that really impacted me the most. I don't think you can talk about the Fellows Program without talking about the trip to Hawaii. It's amazing. You can't even put a price on how valuable it was. I suppose other people will be talking about their favorite portions of that. For me, it was the trip to the Bishop Museum. We got our own individual docents or tour guides, and we had the whole museum to ourselves. And there's people in Hawaii who live their whole lives there who will never get that opportunity. And it was such a beautiful museum and so much to learn, and it really touched me. That's when I knew that the program was so special, that I get opportunities in this program that no one else would ever get to have. And then we had a dinner in the museum, which was wonderful. The Kahlua pork was the best thing I've ever put in my mouth. And it was just such a special time and such a special part of the trip. And it wasn't even the highlight of the trip. It was for me personally. So the trip to Hawaii was what made me really appreciate being a fellow, and it really let me know how special this program really is.
Pacific Century Fellows Program provided a broad coverage of different topics. And particularly for me, in the technology field, we discussed things about cyber intrusion and cybersecurity. Different government agencies were able to, high-level people were able to share with us some of the things that they go through every day. And sometimes we take it for granted that of our liberties, and we sometimes don't see the things that they do in the background. The Pacific Century Fellows Program made a big impact in my life, and it has, through the networking with like-minded individuals that have the desire to provide social change. And I've seen through the program throughout the year that each individual has made a contribution and also has changed their lives for the better.
So, I actually heard about PCF in 2014. I filled out the application, but I doubted myself. I was young, I felt that I was naive, so I just put that application to the side. In 2015, I heard they were opening up applications, so I did my homework. I met with the first cohort and realized that they were people like me. They were young, people trying to figure out how we can better our home. So I decided to submit my application and go through the whole application process. And I got news that I was accepted. So over the past year, I have built relationships with amazing leaders. They have shown me how to be a true leader, and I have grown both professionally and personally. I have learned so much in the fellowship, but if there's one thing that has stuck with me, it's that the glass is always half full, not half empty. And with that, I'd like to thank Mufi, Jerry, Alex, and the team, but most especially our guest speakers who have shown me what true leadership is all about.
The Pacific Century Fellows Program is unique in its foundation and composition. From the founder, Mayor Mufi Haviland, comes from a background with very prestigious leadership experiences, who had a vision to build up leadership for the people in the Pacific.
What I think about experiences I had throughout this whole period as a member of the class of 2015, where I began. I guess at the beginning, I was fortunate to be surrounded by a bunch of members from the last class, the inaugural class of the Pacific Century Fellows, and seeing who their cohorts were and seeing what they were able to do during that time. They were still going through the whole class process. It made me curious about possibly being a fellow, getting the opportunity to be a part of a group that was prestigious, or that is prestigious, where it originated from, and looked to be the same here. So when the open period for registration came about, I jumped in and figured, if there's a way where I can improve myself, which in turn will help, those that I come in contact with, that I work with, any opportunity and any avenue would be perfect for it. So let's just say that there's a lot of things that I can take from every experience, every gathering that we've had, and I can definitely put to good use to anything that I'm involved in. I enjoyed
learning about the cultural aspects of leadership. When I think of the one thing that I'm glad that I was able to pull out of this, it's friendship, fellowship, which of course is what the F stands for, PCF. Getting to collaborate with people that I've known, people that I got a chance to know, and seeing where our collective strengths, if we put them together, what can happen. This is a group that I'm forever going to be blessed to be a part of. This is an experience that I'll never forget.
What does PCF mean to me? PCF means three things. Number one, leadership. It's learning to lead by example, challenging issues from all angles, and taking action that affects change. The second is friendship. It's building meaningful relationships with like-minded individuals who share a common goal to make a difference for our islands. It's also learning to work effectively with individuals from various backgrounds and fields. And lastly, PCF to me means growth. It's a proactive step towards learning and development on both a personal and professional level, and having a foresight into the future and the potential that we have to make positive changes.
The Pacific Century Fellows is a program just like any other. It only works if you work it. So give it your best. My honor. If there's one thing that I have learned from this fellowship, remember that Bible verse, to whom much is given, much is required.
In my experience, the Pacific Century Fellows has been a great experience. Many people say you have to go off island in order to experience such a program where you have leadership skills which are developed, and then also the collaboration of young professionals. But this is an awesome experience right here on Saipan, which has been developed from what they've done in Hawaii and from the fellowship that they've had there. I've really enjoyed this program. I feel that it's going to be better throughout the years as more cohorts join and we have more people which can be part of this here in Saipan. Just more and more things that we can do for the community together as young professionals as we grow together and learn.